On March 11, 2026, the Thai bulk carrier Mayuri Nari was crossing the Strait of Hormuz when projectiles slammed into its engine room. Fire spread through the lower decks in seconds. 20 crew members made it into the water and were rescued by the Omani Navy. 3 others never made it out. Video from that day shows sailors drifting in a life raft, watching their own ship burn against the horizon. They were not soldiers. They were cargo ship workers, deckhands, engineers, cooks, and officers who woke up that morning expecting another long shift on the water. The Mayuri Nari was not even the first. On the very first day of the blockade, the oil tanker Skylight was hit by a projectile north of Oman, killing 2 Indian crew members and injuring 3 others. Hours later, the MKD Vyom was struck by an explosive drone boat that detonated in its engine room, killing another Indian sailor. Within 48 hours, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps made it official. The strait was closed. Any ship that entered would be set on fire. Since then, at least 17 ships have been attacked in and around the strait. At least 6 crew members are confirmed dead. And shipping traffic through the corridor that carries 20% of the world's oil has dropped to nearly zero. But here is what makes this situation so terrifying. The people on these ships were already doing one of the most dangerous jobs in the world long before the first missile hit. A cargo ship operates with a crew of roughly 20 to 25 people. That is it. 20 people running a vessel that stretches over 300 meters long, loaded with cargo worth hundreds of millions of dollars in the middle of open ocean. There is no backup crew waiting in the wings, no emergency services on call. If something goes wrong out there, those 20 people either fix it themselves or they do not go home. The ship never stops, so neither does the crew. Officers rotate through 4-hour bridge watches, 2 per day. During your watch, you are personally responsible for steering the ship, monitoring radar, tracking weather, and responding to anything that comes up. At night, the bridge goes dark except for the glow of instruments. You and a single lookout might be the only people awake on the entire vessel, guiding hundreds of thousands of tons of steel through open water. Now imagine doing that night watch in the Strait of Hormuz. The strait is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, but the actual shipping lanes are just 2 miles wide each. Iran sits on one side, Oman on the other. And since February, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps has been using targeted missiles to hit ships crossing through. Not sea mines, which would be random. Targeted strikes, meaning they choose exactly which ship gets hit. You are on the bridge in the dark, watching the radar, and you know that somewhere on the shoreline, someone might be deciding whether your ship is next. And then came the mine reports. In mid-March, U.S. military intelligence reported that Iran had started planting naval mines in the strait. The Pentagon said it destroyed 16 Iranian mine layers, but the damage was already done. Nobody could confirm whether more mines were still in the water. Every captain in the region now had to wonder if the next vibration beneath the hull was a wave. Or something far worse. The officer on the bridge cannot see a mine. The lookout at the bow cannot see a mine. You just sail over it and hope. Below the waterline is where the real physical danger lives even on a normal day. The engine room on a large cargo ship is a deafening, sweltering space packed with diesel engines, generators, pumps, and fuel lines. Temperatures regularly exceed 45 degrees Celsius. Hearing protection is mandatory because the noise from the machinery never stops. Engineers work their watches in this environment for hours, monitoring everything by feel, sound, and instinct. They listen for abnormal vibrations. They touch pipes to check for unexpected heat. Experienced engineers say they can walk into an engine room and know something is wrong before they look at a single gauge. When the Mayuri Nari was hit, the projectile struck the engine room. That is where 3 crew members were trapped. The engine room is deep inside the ship, surrounded by fuel, oil, and running machinery. The exits are narrow steel ladders and corridors. If a fire starts down there and the smoke fills the stairwell above you, your options disappear in seconds. You are in one of the worst possible places on any vessel, and on a cargo ship, there is no fire department coming. The 20 people on board are the fire department. They run the hoses, operate the extinguishers, and execute the emergency drills they have been practicing for months. Every crew member knows their muster station, their assigned lifeboat, and their specific role in each type of emergency. On the Mayuri Nari, Those drills meant the difference between 20 people surviving and nobody surviving. The 3 who did not make it were likely in the deepest part of the engine room when the fire cut off their path out. The physical toll of the job is constant even outside a war zone. Deckhands spend their days chipping rust off metal surfaces and repainting them, because on a saltwater vessel, corrosion never stops. If you stop maintaining the steel, the ship starts falling apart beneath you. They wrestle heavy mooring lines in all weather. Rain, freezing wind, scorching heat. They stand lookout at the bow for hours, scanning for hazards that radar might miss. They load and unload cargo at port, then go straight back to their watch rotation with barely enough time to eat, let alone sleep. And when heavy weather hits, even walking across the deck becomes life-threatening. A rogue wave can sweep a man overboard in seconds. Decks tilt at steep angles without warning. Loose cargo can shift and crush anyone in its path. Every year, merchant sailors are killed by falls, equipment failures, and accidents that happen because the ocean does not care how tired you are. Sleep is one of the biggest dangers on a cargo ship. Maritime regulations require minimum rest hours, and officers keep records to prove they got enough. But the reality does not match the paperwork. Port operations, inspections, and emergencies pile up regardless of who just finished a watch. Fatigue is directly linked to maritime accidents. Human error causes up to 75% of incidents at sea, and fatigue is one of the most common factors behind those errors. When you are running on 4 or 5 hours of broken sleep, your reaction time slows, your judgment deteriorates, and small mistakes turn into disasters. On top of the exhaustion, there is the isolation. Merchant sailor contracts run 4 to 9 months. That means spending the better part of a year thousands of miles from home in a steel box with the same 20 people watching the same horizon every day. You miss birthdays, holidays, your children growing up. You find out about family emergencies through a crackling satellite phone or a message that arrives hours too late. Depression and anxiety are widespread among merchant sailors, and there is no therapist on board, no counselor. Your crewmates are your only support system. Now layer a war zone on top of that loneliness and exhaustion, and you start to understand why this job is breaking people right now. Quick aside, if you found this video informative, consider subscribing to our channel to support us. And now, back to the video. Now let us talk about what is making an already dangerous job feel impossible. Iran has not just closed the strait with missiles, they have turned the entire passage into an electronic warfare zone. GPS jamming is now widespread across the region. Ships near Iran's Bandar Abbas port have reported their navigation systems showing false positions, placing them at airports, nuclear power plants, and locations deep inland instead of open water. When the system that tells you where you are starts lying to you, every decision on the bridge becomes a gamble. The response from crews has been desperate. More than 40 ships turned off their automatic identification systems at the start of the conflict, going dark. Without AIS, no one can track your identity, position, or heading. Some crews did it to avoid being targeted. Others did it to attempt unauthorized crossings. One Liberian, flagged bulk carrier, broadcast its destination signal as China owner. All crew faking a Chinese identity because Iran announced it would let Chinese vessels through. Ships are disguising themselves to survive, and the attacks have not been limited to the strait itself. On March 12th, the oil tanker Safe Sea Vishnu was struck after allegedly ignoring warnings from the IRGC. Video shows the tanker engulfed in flames, while crew from a nearby ship threw rubber rings to sailors struggling in the water. One crew member did not survive. That same day, 2 more tankers were hit by a drone boat near the Iraqi port of Basra, 500 miles from Hormuz. On March 6th, a tugboat sent to rescue a damaged cargo ship was hit by 2 missiles and sank, with 3 crew still missing. Iran even struck the Omani ports that ships were using to bypass the strait entirely. There is no safe route anymore, and no one is coming to make it safe anytime soon. The U.S. Navy has admitted it is not ready to escort tankers through the strait, which means the only people carrying the risk right now are the crews themselves. And the risk does not end when the missiles stop. Even on a quiet day, the ocean itself is trying to kill you. Cargo ships carry thousands of tons of freight that has to be secured and balanced precisely. If the weight shifts during heavy seas, the vessel can list without warning. Containers have broken loose and crushed deckhands on deck. When weather turns bad, waves break over the bow and sweep across surfaces slick with salt and spray. A deckhand working topside is one bad step from going over the rail. In rough seas, a man overboard recovery is not guaranteed. Water temperatures in many shipping lanes will kill you from hypothermia in under 30 minutes, even if someone sees you go in. Then there are the confined spaces. Cargo holds, ballast tanks, chain lockers, enclosed steel compartments where oxygen levels can drop without warning due to chemical reactions from the cargo or from rust. Sailors have climbed into holds and collapsed within seconds because the air was not breathable. Others went in to rescue them and died the same way. Every year, confined space entry kills merchant sailors doing routine work in a space they had entered 100 times before. The cook works alone in a galley that pitches and rolls with the sea, handling boiling water, hot oil, and sharp knives on a surface that is never truly stable. A sudden wave can throw an entire pot of boiling liquid across the kitchen. If the cook gets injured, there is no replacement. The crew figures it out themselves until the next port, which could be weeks away. Through all of this, hundreds of crews sit anchored on ships outside the strait, waiting, their contracts running out. Fresh food ran out days ago. Some ships are rationing what is left. They cannot go forward because the passage is a war zone. Their companies will not bring them home because the ships and cargo are worth too much to abandon. So they sit, watching the smoke rise from vessels that tried to make the crossing. Nobody is telling them when this ends. The people stuck in this situation did not sign up for war. They signed up for long hours, bad sleep, and months away from their families. An ordinary seaman earns around $1,500 a month. For many of them, it is the only thing standing between their families and poverty. They come from the Philippines, India, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. These are not people with other options. Quitting means going home to nothing, so they stay, and they wait for someone to tell them it is safe to sail again. Now they are watching footage of the Mayuri Neri burning from the water. They are hearing reports of colleagues killed by missiles they never saw coming. They are being asked to sail into a corridor where navigation cannot be trusted, where their ship can be individually selected for a missile strike, and where the military on the shoreline has publicly announced it will set fire to any unauthorized vessel. The Strait of Hormuz has been called the world's most important oil choke point for decades, but the people who move cargo through it are not executives or politicians. They are cooks, deckhands, and engineers earning a few $1,000s a month, working through the night on 4 hours of broken rest, and wondering whether the next watch will be their last. Right now, nobody can promise them it will not be. If you found this video interesting, consider subscribing, and we will see you in the next one.